Well, first things first, welcome back to the Baltics, and to be more specific, welcome back to Lithuania. Now, I was last here in this amazing country about 9 months ago, but not here, actually only in the capital city of Vilnius, which is about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to the east of here. So I've come back to this incredible country, and this time I've come to Kaunas, home to about 300,000 people. Let's go check it out. Well, full disclosure, I am fresh off of a 15-hour bus journey from Berlin overnight. And actually, fresh is probably not even the word I should use because I slept probably three and a half hours. So if I sound groggy, there's why. But anyway, it's around 12 noon right now, and I got about 2 hours until I can probably drop my bag at the hotel. So let's just have a little wander. So Kaunas has historically been known by a few different names. I mean, in Russian, it's known as Kovno, in Yiddish, Kovne, and in German, Kauen. And in 1920, Kaunas actually became capital of the Lithuanian Republic. And that lasted until 1939, when Vilnius was actually given back to Lithuania by the Soviets after taking it from Poland. In 1940, well, Lithuania becomes part of the Soviet Union. But that's very short-lived, at least initially. Well, this street that I've just stepped onto has immense significance in Lithuania's history, but you would not know from where we are now. Well, I am looking for something which theoretically is supposed to be here, but can't find it so far, so maybe I've got it wrong. Ah, I found it. Oh my goodness, it's so easy to miss. What? Well, it's really sort of beyond surreal to think about the significance of where I am, and let me just break it down for you. So, June 22nd of 1941, Nazi Germany invades the Soviet Union. That very day, Lithuanian nationalists take advantage of this situation to stage an uprising across Lithuania. And by the next day, the 23rd, power here in Kaunas, or Kovno, is actually in the hands of something known as the Lithuanian Activist Front. And this front was principally a fascist organization. I mean, they said that they wanted to achieve the liberation or independence of Lithuania, but they really held the same anti-Semitic ideology as the Nazis. And the following day, German troops actually march into Kaunas. And what ensues? Well, a pogrom, in which perhaps up to 4,000 Jews living here in the city, or about 40,000 lived at the time, would be killed within the span of mere days. So yeah, I think nowadays this is in part a school, or maybe it's actually a gym, sporting complex. It's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, there's also a parking lot here, and back in the day, this would have been a garage used by the NKVD, the Soviet secret police, you could say effectively. And what happened is on the 27th of June of 1941, a major massacre took place here as part of that wider pogrom. You could say really the key event in those few days, because what happened is, presumably, a guy who was a Lithuanian nationalist ended up beating to death 68 Jews using simply a metal pipe. The guy goes down in history known as the Death Dealer, although we don't really know his identity to this day. Well, there it is in all of its glory, one of the centerpieces of Kaunas, the Church of Saint Michael the Archangel. Well, not a surprise to see in the Baltics the flag of Ukraine, and here actually on Liberty Boulevard there's one Ukrainian flag for every Lithuanian flag. And Lithuania did, I believe, host the NATO summit, I think in 2023. Yeah, I'm just going to assume that this is modernist architecture from the interwar period and not Soviet architecture. I think I can tell the difference with most of them anyway. Jan Zwartendijk, and he was actually the honorary consul of the Netherlands who helped to save thousands of Jews by issuing them visas in the summer of 1940. Yeah, that's got to be a modernist jewel right there, the Romuva Cinema. Well, I spotted a beautiful bridge from afar, so let's go check it out. Well, Kaunas sits at the confluence of the Nemunas and Neris rivers, and I think we're coming up to the Nemunas right now. Oh man, I love it when words are so similar to the English that you can actually work out what you're looking at. The National Kaunas Drama Theater, right? Ah, thank goodness, man. I thought this street was never going to end, and actually it has not. There's still probably 50% of the way to go until the other side of it. But I say thank goodness because I can see my hotel, the Kaunas City, which is right here on the main boulevard. And it's a little bit early to check in, but I think they'll let me do it. Alright, so I've got slightly early access to the room, and I think this is it here, 405. Now look, this is not some kind of Soviet hotel or whatever, but I figure I would just show you the room as I see. Oh, shit. So I think it looks as if I've got a view of the main boulevard, which is what I was hoping for. And I just realized also the window opens wide, and all the way down, you can actually see the church where we were about maybe, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Well, I have a dirty secret that I've been wanting to share, and I guess now is the time. So, you know I'm Finnish, or at least half Finnish. You wouldn't know from my accent. And one thing that's quintessentially Finnish, which is all over this region, Hesburger. Yeah, think about it like McDonald's, but better? So anytime I see a Hesburger, I got to go. And that's going to be our first order of business in terms of food here. I know, not great. I'm telling you, man, it's like McDonald's, but without the genocidal guilt. Well, the choral synagogue here in Kaunas is one of only 2 surviving choral synagogues in use here in Lithuania, and the only functional synagogue here in the city today. And at one time there were more than 25 across Kaunas. Okay. Ah man, well, setting foot in there is such a grim reminder of how the Jewish community here, like all across Europe, is so incredibly small nowadays. I mean, look, 40,000 Jews living in Kaunas at the start of World War II, only around 3,000 actually survived the Holocaust, and of that number, only a handful remain here. But yeah, interesting also to hear a couple of folks in there speaking Yiddish, which nowadays is a largely, you could say, endangered language. And probably not even a 2.5 minute walk from the Choral Synagogue is the Yard Gallery, one of the things I've been looking forward to the most since I heard about it maybe a month back. I mean, to be totally honest with you, it really has the aesthetic of Berlin all the way down. I mean, it reminds me of a good portion of Berlin as a city. Man, Kaunas has already been nothing short of mind-blowing, and I think the best is still to come because we haven't even seen the Old Town yet. And an Old Town anywhere in Europe is always by far my favorite thing. Oh, might this be what I think it is? A genuine Soviet underpass? You know, I love one of these. I can tell you one thing, I'm already having a very vigorous debate in my head about which city I like more, Vilnius or Kaunas. Ooh, I think at this point it's a toss-up, to be honest, but Lithuania, man, oh man, oh man. And you know, it really wouldn't be a picturesque European town without a castle, and this one dating to the 14th century. Yeah, so I'm just a little bit too late to actually enter the castle. Entry, by the way, is €4, so if you are planning on coming here to Kaunas, then a very sort of cheap experience. And to be honest, so far I really haven't spent much money at all, although to be fair, I've just eaten at Hesburger and had a coffee, so I guess there you go. But anyway, what we're going to do now, because we're focusing a lot on the history of Yiddish land, we have have to make our way across the bridge over here into the suburb which is still known as Slabotka. It has another name which is escaping me right now, an official name, but this would have been the Jewish suburb back in the day, and also the place where, well, the Kaunas or Kovno ghetto was established in 1941. Well, here we go, heading across the Neris River to Slabotka, which apparently, I just looked it up, is the old Polish name for this neighborhood. I believe, you can tell me if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly if you're Lithuanian or can speak the language, Vilijampolė, right? And we even got the trolley buses making their way across the bridge. How very exciting. All right, we made it to Vilijampolė, presumably. I'm sticking with that pronunciation. So this former suburb became home to the Jewish community, in large part because, well, Jews were not allowed to settle within Kaunas or Kovno itself. So they settled just across the river on the other side. And this is it. This is where the gates of the Kaunas or Kovno ghetto would have been from 1941 to 1943. So in the direct aftermath of the Kovno pogrom, you know, that horrific series of events where, again, maybe up to 4,000 Jews were killed, then you had the remaining 29,000 or so that were taken, were actually put into the ghetto here, and then from 1943 that ghetto was actually transformed into a concentration camp. So the sun is very slowly setting here in Kaunas on what's been honestly a remarkably full first day. And to be fair, this city has far exceeded my expectations, and I knew that I was going to love it. That's the thing. Unfortunately, I still have one more full day here because I am absolutely loving it. And also, I'm not going to make it until it's pitch black outside because I didn't really sleep last night. So with that being said, see you in the morning, and we'll continue our adventurizing. Well, I did not make it until it was pitch black, but I'm back in my room, and look at the way the street is lit up. This is just magical beyond belief. All right. Well, good morning, good morning. Day 2 here in Kaunas, and it looks like a beautiful one once again. Yeah, let's hit these streets once more. All right, so the first order of business this morning, find the bus or the trolley bus. Unsure which one it's going to be, hopefully the trolley bus, and that's going to take us over to the 9th Fort. This should take us about 40 to 45 minutes, so it's a little bit out of the center of town. And I think this might actually be our bus. Yeah, it's not a trolley bus, but yeah, it'll do.
Tiltas.
Well, that was a reasonably painless journey and only €1. And it took 28 minutes, and from here it's about a 12-minute walk, it says, to the 9th Fort. It's actually a pretty interesting trek over because you have to cross the highway, but fortunately they have one of these underpasses. Absolutely bone-chilling. I'm not sure if you can read it, but it says the Way of Death in multiple languages: Lithuanian, Russian, presumably Yiddish, Hebrew, and then English. Well, in the few short years of the Nazi occupation between 1941 and 1944, around 50,000 people were killed here in this field and also buried here, and around 30,000 of those were said to have been Jewish. Called simply the Monument in Memory of the Victims of Nazism, this dates back to 1984, so it's from the period of the Lithuanian Soviet Socialist Republic, and is 32 meters high, consists of 3 sculptural groups symbolizing pain, hope, and liberation. Yeah, I mean, to say that it's heart-wrenching would be just a profound understatement, and I didn't know that this was actually going to affect me this much. I think one of the reasons as well is, I mean, you think about the 50,000 souls who would have been lost here, but also the fact that there's all of this signage talking about, you know, the eternal memory of the victims of fascism and fascism's back. I mean, not that fascism ever went anywhere, and, you know, this notion of never again. Have we learned that? And the museum itself is incredibly extensive. I mean, it covers the entire history of the fort, underscores the significance that it had during the period of the Russian Empire. Then it goes into the history of how the fort was converted into a hard labor prison during the period of the independent Lithuanian state during the interwar years. And then it also covers how, well, it was converted into a way station for people being sent to the Gulag system once Lithuania became part of the Soviet Union, you know, so during the Stalin period. And then, of course, a lot about how prisoners would have been held here. I mean, a lot of Jews taken from, as we saw yesterday, the Kovno ghetto, transported here, and then subsequently killed. But also some stories of resilience and resistance, how there was an escape here in 1943. So such an incredible place to actually visit. But I gotta be honest, I'm completely drained of energy now. I mean, and that's exactly the way that these things, you know, should be. You know, it should affect you, you know, really in the depths of your spirit and your soul. And this place is phenomenal in that respect. Well, back in the city center to marvel at what I think is probably one of the largest churches I've ever seen. Good God. Well, it turns out that one of the places I was really looking forward to visiting this afternoon is closed. Yeah, I didn't foresee that one, so that means I'll have to come back to Kaunas. It's good news, I guess. It also means that we have the rest of the afternoon to just chill and hang out and just soak up the sights, the sounds, and really just enjoy this vibrant city. So we're not catching a train to anywhere today, but I did want to come and see the central railway station here in Kaunas, because actually I saw the outside from the train last year when I was en route from Vilnius over to Poland. So yeah, this station dates in its current form from the late 1940s, so the period of Soviet Lithuania. You can definitely tell in the architectural style. And there's a plaque here that mentions the deportations during the Stalin period, which would have taken place from this particular station. This might be the most genius shit that I've seen in my life, bro. So here we go, just on the edge of the old town. There's the river, one of them, I'm forgetting which one right now, and then a bridge which in theory will take us over to a funicular, which will give us a great viewpoint once we get up to the top.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. So it dates to the mid-1930s, it cost €1, and it took probably not even 60 seconds to get up here to the viewpoint. The question is, was the €1 worth it? Yeah, I would say so. Man, I'm having the best time here in Kaunas. The only thing is, it's fast approaching sunset, so I'm gonna grab a little bite to eat and take advantage of those beautiful lights out on the main street, and then, unfortunately, it's pretty much a wrap. Ah, this bridge is from 1948? So be it. Check out this tunnel with the immense amounts of graffiti right next to the old town. Haven't really seen much in the way of graffiti except for places like this. So I know that I've already alluded to this in this video, but I have to emphasize it again because every time I put my camera away, and I think I'm going to take a little break from filming, another beautiful building appears from that interwar period. And the modernism, I believe, can also be referred to for the most part as Art Deco. This style with the rounded, kind of balconies and things like that, the edges of the buildings. I'm a huge, huge fan of that. Well, damn, here there's what appears to be a shell of an old Art Deco building. Wonder what they're doing with this.